The vaccine mandate, is it the right approach or is it government overreach? Is President Biden's six-pronged COVID-19 action plan driven by science or by politics? What if Americans oppose the mandate? What can we do? What if you have a moral or religious objection to being ordered to inject your body with a vaccine? That is the focus of tonight's Pray Vote Stand. I'll be joined by Kansas Senator Dr. Roger Marshall, Dr. Jeff Barrows of the Christian Medical and Dental Association, and Pastor Gary Hamrick, Senior Pastor at Cornerstone Chapel. Again, that's 8 p.m. Eastern Time, prayvotestand.org. Well, imagine this. The highest-ranking American general, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, calls his counterpart in China secretly to make assurances that the United States military leadership would warn his Chinese counterpart if and when the United States launches an attack against China. Now, this may seem like a terrible plot in a B-grade movie, but if the allegations of the book by Bob Woodward called Peril are to be believed, this actually happened. According to their upcoming book, Joint Chiefs of Staff General Mark Milley called his People's Liberation Army counterpart to make assurances that they would get a heads up from General Milley if and when then President Trump decided to launch an attack on China. Well, you can't make this stuff up. Joining me now to talk more about this, Congressman Andy Biggs. He is the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, and he's from Arizona. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Tony, good to be with you.
Let me just ask you point blank, what's your reaction to these revelations of actions taken by General Milley?
Well, my first reaction was, since it was written by Bob Woodward, maybe it wouldn't be true. But then today, reports are out that Milley has admitted that he made those two phone calls. So I'm historically speaking, Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, the president's the commander in chief. It's not a military junta. It's not a military government. We have a civilian commander in chief. Milley is stepped outside of that chain of command. And not only that, he undermined this President Trump's foreign policy. And we know of two phone calls that he admitted to. How many others were there? And the other historical reference I'll make to you is when General Douglas MacArthur stepped outside of the line of the chain of command, Harry Truman fired him, if you remember, during the Korean War. It is time to fire General Milley. It is time for Congress to investigate him, and it is time for the Uniform Code of Military Justice to come into play for investigation and a military tribunal to be convened regarding General Milley.
Well, we just heard just a few moments ago White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki saying the president supported him. We have a short clip of the president himself today saying he has confidence in General Milley. Clip 5, please.
I have great confidence in General Milley.
It doesn't appear that he's even considering firing the general. He's standing in support with him, calling him a patriot.
Yeah, this is absurd. So when I first heard it as well, I was saying, well, if it's true, then guess what's going to happen? The left is going to say, well, yes, General Milley, what a hero, what a patriot. The reality is he's no hero. He's no patriot. He has violated the oath of his office. He has violated the chain of command. He has undermined the foreign policy of the United States of America. And I want you to think, you know this, Tony, and your audience knows this too. They get this. You have a general basically saying to an adversary, we're not talking about an economic adversary. We are talking about a country where the CCP has basically been trying to hack into our and military computer apparatus, our country's economic apparatus, and they've been stealing our secrets and military secrets for a long time. Here's the deal. He is aiding and abetting that regime, our adversarial regime. It's almost like a Cold War. It'd be like helping the USSR during the Cold War. That's the kind of thing you have to equate this with, because that's the gravity of what was going on with what General Milley did.
I agree with you, Congressman Biggs. I mean, in fact, when I heard it, I too, Bob Woodward, I've read the other two books that they've written about President Trump, and I was involved in some of those things and knew that they were off a little bit. But General Milley, through his spokesman, did not refute this, said that this took place. And I was thinking about this, as one who has been sanctioned by the Chinese government for my advocacy for human rights, religious freedom in that country, along with other members of Congress and others. I'm thinking here, I'm being sanctioned for advocating for the very things that the head of our military should be defending.
No, Tony, you're exactly right. I mean, this is an absolute failure. I mean, and let's think of it this way too. It's probably the closest to a military junta that you can get. And that is a general, the top general, basically undermining the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. There are other operations, other civil remedies in our United States Constitution. And by the way, the Democrats had already undertaken those, were undertaking those remedies nonstop. And you have this guy who is supposed to be loyal to the president and loyal to the Constitution, loyal to the country, and protect the country, basically telling an enemy, if there's anything if we're going to attack you, I'm going to give you a warning. And that's just the kind of absurd thing. And contrary to what you were doing, which was preaching for human rights and dignity of humanity.
To your point, this is sowing the seeds, I think, of a military coup. Because it's unprecedented, and if we leave it unaddressed. Now, is there anything that the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, which you're a member of, can do to address this matter?
Well, the first thing that we're doing as a Freedom Caucus is many of us are sending a letter demanding that under the Uniform Code of Military Justice that he be investigated. The second thing is we are trying to get with Oversight Committee. We will no doubt try and get an investigation. We'll try to get Milley in. We will try to do these things, but it's all in the hands of our committee chairwoman. And Tony, I got to tell you, this is so serious and so grave. This is something that both sides of the aisle should be coming together on and saying, look, this could happen to any president if you have a rogue general like General Milley was. But that's not what we're seeing. And that's my biggest concern on top of what he actually did. My biggest concern is that the Democrats are not only not trying to stop this in the future, they're actually incentivizing it by praising this guy.
Well, this will only further what I believe really began with Barack Obama, and that was the politicization of our nation's military, which causes a lack of trust in our military. Very quickly, before we have to go, Congressman Biggs, I know that there's so many pressing issues, but one of the areas, another area that shows the total failure of this administration, their policies, is our southern border, and you're actually leading a group to the southern border on Friday.
Yeah, so Tony, I'm actually getting ready to leave in about an hour from the Phoenix area and heading on down to the southern border. And I'll have a number of members of Congress with me and staff. And we're going to take another view of different parts of the border. And, this could be solved, but it isn't being solved because this is the open border situation that the Democrats want. And Tony, you have to think, over 200,000 a month for the last 3 months have been apprehended, and then many of them dispersed throughout our country without thorough vetting, including no COVID vaccinations or anything like that. And at the same time, you have 70 to 100,000 people getting in known gotaways and unknown gotaways. So imagine 250 to 300,000 people a month coming in for the last 3 months, June, July, and August. And those are the hottest parts of the year. It's gonna get worse, I fear.
Congressman Andy Biggs, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us. Maybe we can catch up with you next week after your trip to the border.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tony. Keep it up.